today I couldn't be more excited. I have the amazing, incredible Elissa Goodman, who is a holistic integrative nutritionist. I mean, one of the top experts in the field. She's sitting down with us to share all of her incredible information on autoimmune diseases, her amazing journey and story. Guys, this is going to be an action-packed, amazing interview. So super excited to bring Elissa here to the show.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so honored every time someone asks me to speak because I can't really believe that I get to do what I do for a living. So
it's amazing. I mean, the impact, Elissa, that you've had throughout the years is just absolutely incredible. We were just chatting before we got started, and I was telling her about how her interviews make me look like I'm actually a good chef when I'm really not. I have to thank you. So jumping in, Elissa has just such a powerful story, and would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started and what you're doing. So would love for you to share your story and journey.
Well, how I got started was, I basically came into the world, I think, and not the healthiest kid. I mean, I was always sick when I was young, and I was always behind the 8 ball. And every illness that you could get, I received. I mean, I got, chickenpox and mono and strep and tonsillitis and digestive issues and just everything. I always was getting sick. So I always felt like, wow, I labeled myself, I think, not really knowing that I did in the early days as a sick kid. So I felt like I was always playing catch up, and my family was very type A, very successful, very driven. So it was a hard place to be with somebody, who was kind of behind the 8 ball, always and always feeling tired and not really having the energy. And when I did push myself, which I had to push myself all the time because I needed to keep up with this type A family, I got sick. So as years went on, I kept that, I didn't know any differently. I just kept pushing myself, and I moved to New York, and I was living in Arizona. I grew up in Arizona, but I moved to New York, and I was working in the advertising business, really fast paced. Loved it, by the way. I mean, just loved the excitement and all of that. But I ended up getting sick consistently in New York, and I was living on coffee and late nights and lots of alcohol and crappy food, and just trying to keep my energy up and going, working out like crazy. So that made it even, I released some anxiety and stress, but I think cortisol wise, I was just adrenaline, I was pumping it consistently most of my life.
Wow. And
I met my husband, and he was from Queens, and
New Yorker.
Yeah, New Yorker. Love those New Yorkers still.
Exactly.
And I said, we're moving west, and he's like, oh, we're moving to New Jersey. That was so funny. And I'm like, no, we're moving to California. He had never been to California. I'm like, I need a slower life. Yeah. I need to slow down. I know in my psyche and in my intuition, something was telling me, this life is not working for me. So we moved to LA, and I ended up getting a fantastic dream job in the advertising business with Vogue magazine. And then months later, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Wow. So the scariest thing of all, I did not have any symptoms, because I probably did, but I didn't know I had symptoms because I was always not feeling well. But I was getting a massage, and I was sitting up, and the masseuse found a lymph node on my collarbone. And so she's like, you shouldn't really have a swollen lymph node on your collarbone. You need to get that checked out. And the next thing I knew, it was cancer.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
It was a huge wake-up call, and it was an early stage of cancer. Right. So that was helpful. And I was definitely scared out of my mind about it all, because that word cancer, scares all of us.
Absolutely.
We automatically think we're going to go to a place of we might die.
Absolutely.
So at this stage, I saw 3 doctors, and in a nutshell, 2 of them were very aggressive in their treatment, and I hadn't had kids yet, and I was 32. So all of that scared me, chemo and lots of radiation, and maybe having to do a bone marrow transplant, all of that. So, but the last doctor sat me down and asked me questions like, what's your stress level like? You don't look happy. Like, tell me a little bit about your life and how you've been living. And I burst into tears and I was like, oh my God, I'm so miserable. Work is way over my head. Don't really love LA. We just moved here. Don't know anybody. You know, just was, you know, and I'm constantly, you know, not feeling my self-worth was very low, my self-esteem. I was always trying to play catch up with all of that as well. Like that I never felt at peace with myself. That was the biggest component. And when I was talking to him, I realized that. I realized, wow, this is a wake-up call for me to come to terms with that and start looking at all of that and working on myself in the deeper place. Not the physical place, which I had been doing, all the diets or, you know, all of that, but the deeper rooted place of me. And so I did. I went into therapy. I started meditating. I did yoga. I actually started juicing in those days. There was one juice place in LA, and I'd go there every day. I became a vegan because I just thought, you know, the energy of animal protein wasn't the greatest.
For you, right.
Right. So I did all of those things, and I did half of the radiation that they wanted me to do. Okay. So, and I, you know, healed, and I went on to have 2 healthy girls.
Wow.
So it was real. That was great. But then I ended up getting hypothyroidism Hashimoto's because they had radiated my thyroid. And when I had my first daughter, I was diagnosed with the Hashimoto's because a lot of times when you have trauma, that can come out, the autoimmune stuff. So I was then dealing with that. Took years, which we'll talk about later, you know, about getting diagnosed with that. It took years to have somebody really hone in on that, of what my diagnosis was. But my husband, 11 years after my diagnosis, was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
So having both of us have cancer, and it was really sort of incredibly shocking. And he went through a 1.5 year treatment, and he had 2 bone marrow transplants in the 1.5 year, which is a little bit unheard of.
Yeah, right.
And he ended up passing away of fungal pneumonia at 45. So
young.
Yes, way too young. And to watch a really strong, which I thought was a really strong, which, you know, from the outside, go down to this tank, to this place of, you know, no immune system, and you know, just a lot of just wither away, was awful what the medical community did. And I do believe in drugs and helping people in that way, but the amount of chemo, the amount of radiation that this guy got in a 1.5 year was just intense.
For anybody, I mean, for anybody, even if you're super healthy, the radiation, the chemo, it just puts your body under so much stress.
It does. It absolutely does. I mean, he withered away. So he passed away, and then I had 2 girls, 10 and 7 at home, and we were all traumatized. And we all just were like, what the hell are we going to do now? And so about 2 years later, I realized that I needed to actually help the 3 of us be healthy, figure out how to deal with our trauma and our PTSD from the whole event. I knew these girls were going to be traumatized, and I knew that they probably were thinking, I might get cancer. I probably will get cancer. Both my parents had cancer. So they're going to live in that fear-based mode of potentially, you know, always in the back of their mind. Maybe it's not in their conscious, but in their subconscious going, I might, you know, this is potentially going to happen. I did not want that because I felt like that's how I lived most of my life, labeling myself as a sick kid. So I went back to school and got certified in Eastern and Western nutrition.
Amazing.
And it was so fun. It was 2 years. And then I graduated, and this vegan restaurant asked me to do a food delivery program for them. It was Cafe Gratitude in LA, which is pretty hot
we
place.
all know Cafe Gratitude.
Yes, you know Cafe Gratitude. And it just come down from San Francisco. A friend of mine brought it down. So I did that for like 3.5 years. And then a year into that, M Cafe, which is a macrobiotic restaurant, asked me to put a food delivery program together for them, which I did. They were all 5-day programs. And I did that for them. And I've done it for like 6 years. And then Erewhon, which is the specialty market, which we all love as well.
Erewhon as well.
So they asked me to put cleanse together for them at the beginning when the new owners took over. So I did all these programs, and I was thinking, wow, I've been doing this for everybody else. I could probably do this for myself as well.
Awesome.
So I put a 21-day reset program online where it's 3 weeks of recipes, but it doesn't just have food, it's emotionally based. So it's meditation, and it's journaling and figuring out how to really get in touch with your intuition. And secondly, it's really high-end supplements that I've investigated over the years. There's energy healing on there, tapping, exercise, yoga. There's all the components that really how I live my life. And there's you get emails every day of nutrition tips of what you need to know. So there's a lot of support. I've done that for probably the last 4 or 5 years. It's been on the site it's a do-it-yourself program. So it's sort of a little bit of a look into my world. And then about 3.5 years ago, we started a soup cleanse, which is, we cook and deliver to almost 100 people in LA. And it's soups and salads and tonics and fermented veggies and homemade protein bars and bone broth. And it also has a ton of support. It's 5 days, and it's all home cooked. And what is really interesting about this program is that we put a lot of love and intention into it. And we all know that food is medicine. Exactly. And food can heal you. Right. So that's what this is about. It's about we're putting the intention into these soups and salads and everything we do about healing yourself. We want everybody who eats them and experiences this cleanse to get to a place where they feel that love and they feel that healing energy from the food. And I think we might have accomplished that because it does really well. And it's really fun to hear the testimonials and feedback from it. Right. So it's been a really incredible journey.
What a journey. There's so many things I want to dissect here. So, I mean, the first one, I think what's really interesting that you hit on a point that I think that so many people resonate with. Coming from a type A perfectionist family, feeling like, hey, I've got to perform, I'm not good enough, I've got to push, I've got to be this type of person. Talk to me how our society now, especially, we're so high performance and stress driven, we're always on. Maybe give me a little bit of how you're seeing that in some of the people that you've worked with and how that contributes to some of the autoimmune disease issues, the health issues that they have, that constant stress and on-itness that we all feel like we need to have, how it ends up manifesting in illness a lot of times.
That is really the biggest issue that's happening these days, is that we are living in a society that is constantly on a treadmill. Yeah. And we have for years, and we've sort of we were brought up and we grew up with, you've got to pound the pavement, you've just, work those long hours and, just push to succeed. Yeah. And, women in general take on so much more. Men are great, and they do take on a lot. I'm not pushing that. But women, emotionally take on more. Absolutely. So the central nervous system of our bodies was only meant to do one thing at a time. Right. And we absolutely do not do one thing at a time.
We're overloading.
Oh, right. Ever since we were little. Right. We're on sports teams. We were, we had to do, chores at home or, schoolwork or whatever, sing and dance and play the piano or play tennis, right? Exactly. We were so loaded down with activities, we never had downtime. And that's continued out throughout our life. Absolutely. And the cortisol and the adrenaline that pumps through our body when we are on the go is, pumped out of these two little adrenal glands that are super small. And it's constantly being pumped through the body, and the adrenal glands are getting massively taxed. And then once they get, taxed, everything else sort of goes a little bit haywire. So thyroid gets out of whack. It's all part of the endocrine system. Right. Hormones then start to not function, as well. Everything doesn't function well. Your digestive system shuts down. Right. The liver has to work overtime at helping the digestive system, work and digest food. So it's really the stress and the brain. It's doing a lot, it's kind of killing off a little bit of brain cells. Right. We are just so massively stressed. We're not sleeping. very well.
Yeah.
We're not making very good decisions with food, and we're really not, giving our body the chance to reset and regenerate and, regroup. So it's really, I see that as the number one cause of like all of these health issues, autoimmune, even cancer, everything in terms of even diabetes. And because, people are looking for sugar in a lot of ways for energy. So stress is a killer, and thank God a lot of meditation studios and yoga has become a lot more popular, and a lot of things that are helping us slow down are becoming a lot more popular. But in terms of the autoimmune stuff, it is really doing a number on us. Another thing that is happening is we aren't speaking our mind. We aren't saying, no, that's enough. I don't want to work that hard.
Right.
I can work shorter hours and be just as creative. Yes.
Right.
But we aren't speaking our mind about what's really, going to help us. We know intuitively what's going to help us. But that is, I think, a very much of a tie-in to the autoimmune stuff. We're not like going, stop, I can't do this anymore. I can't do the workload, This is we're not putting up our boundaries too.
No, it's this, and there's this, kind of this sentiment and feeling of feeling bad if you push back and say no, or feeling bad if you set a boundary. And then I feel like we, as we've gotten more connected digitally and with our computers, online, it's like we are disconnected from our intuition.
Absolutely.
So walk me through, right before you got sick, what was your intuition telling you? What were some of those symptoms that you kind of brushed off and saying like, oh, I can push through, it's no problem, and you felt like you didn't need to say anything, or it was maybe something was wrong with you that you couldn't quite articulate to anyone else?
Right. There were so many
Wow.
because there was anxiety was one of them. I was not feeling good in my body, so I was feeling very anxious. Like something doesn't feel right, and what I'm doing I'm not loving, and just everything it didn't feel comfortable. Little depression, about it all. Also, like, digestion was not good. I mean, I wasn't digesting my food. I wasn't, I was feeling a lot of bloating and gassiness, and just, not going to the bathroom every day was a big one, being constipated because I was so uptight. And I just felt, and my head felt just really heavy, like not being able to really speak your truth is such a huge component of just
so many things.
So many, the anxiety, the depression, the, sleepless nights. We all know what our truth is, and we don't, we're scared to speak it. So I was terrified to speak it. I was terrified to say to the job, I just this is not right for me. And I was just terrified to like really say, like scream and yell off the mountaintops, I'm not happy. I mean, it was, I think a lot of women feel that way.
Yeah.
It's like whoever you're with and your partner or your friends, we pick certain people in our life, and sometimes they're there to, give us messages and to teach us. And sometimes, they really push us to that place where, we really need to see those signs. And that's even hard because you don't want to see them. So you're fighting back with those friends and loved ones. And that was happening as well. It was just like, I don't really honor what you're saying, but I knew deep down it was what they were telling me was the truth.
Were they telling you like, hey, listen, you look like you're unhappy or something's wrong,
all
and you
of them.
just were pushing it off, saying,
exactly.
No, I'm fine.
We know with people who are close to us, like we could tell on their face they're depressed or anxious or unhappy, and just the things they do and say.
Right.
So those were big ones. There were physical signs, there were mental signs. There was everything.
Wow. And did you go to a doctor and say, hey, listen, so you mentioned that you did go to a doctor. Did you go a couple of times and try a few different doctors before you arrived at the one that asked you, hey, tell me about your life? Like, how many tries did it take you to get to that person?
With the cancer thing, it was 3. Okay. And that doctor who asked me the questions about your life, and who was fabulous and who probably saved my life in so many ways. I didn't want to go see. It was a suggestion from someone, and I just was like, I've seen 2. That's enough. I'm
Right,
done.
right.
But I'm just so glad that my intuition said, go to that third one. With the autoimmune stuff, the Hashimoto's,
Right.
it took like 5 doctors. They all just
Wow.
brushed off. I had the same kind of symptoms and feelings I just told you about with the cancer. The Hashimoto's was kind of the same. It was like a lot of anxiety, sleepless nights, not good digestion, constipation, losing my hair. It was, it was similar stuff. But doctors are like, let me put you on Prozac. Let me, it's just anxiety. It's all in your head. So they put me on sleep meds and Prozac, and nobody really could figure out at the bottom line what was going on with me. So it took probably 5 doctors, and it took almost 5 years to get diagnosed. Wow. It was really crazy. And that is happening less these days, but it's still happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Because most doctors regular doctors aren't really knowing how to test for all the hypothyroidism, thyroid stuff, adrenal stuff, cortisol stuff, hormones, like the whole panel of really seeing what's really going on with us women and the stress and
right. And I feel like there's a lot of, as you're saying, it's all in your head.
Yes.
And when you hear that from a medical provider, you feel disempowered. This is the expert. They're telling me it's all in my head, so it must be. Let me take the pill that they give me and just move along in my life.
Absolutely.
How did you kind of empower yourself, and what types of questions did you ask to finally get someone to, especially for Hashimoto's,
right.
help you look holistically at what could be going on and then arrive at the right diagnosis?
Right. Well, even taking the pills, I didn't feel better. So I knew that. And I knew, again, something was off. And I always had this intuition, even when I was little, that I always thought life could be better. So, I did have this strong feeling that I was gonna make life better. Like I was very driven. I hadn't gotten there yet, but I just realized, I finally found a holistic, functional doctor who actually does do tests that kind of tries to figure out what the root cause of a health issue is, and does, more thorough testing than the regular just run-of-the-mill stuff, cholesterol, vitamin D, these people are this guy that I found in Beverly Hills was like, okay, I know what's going on with women's hormones and their thyroid and their adrenals. I see this happening too much now. So women are not feeling well, and they're very taxed and chronically fatigued, and having weight gain and not being able to lose it, and all those symptoms. So he did test my thyroid, and he did test my antibodies, which is something that still today a lot of doctors don't do.
Don't do at all. Absolutely. They don't even speak about antibodies, which is really interesting.
It was. And so that's when he came back and said, you have hyperthyroidism, Hashimoto's. And so it was great because I did go on medicine. He didn't really know how to deal with the Hashimoto's at the time. So this was many years ago. But so I sort of just, investigated on my own through lots of reading, lots of books, and then doing my integrative nutrition courses. And then after that, just like trying to devour myself into how to heal from all of this. Because I was like, if I can heal from cancer, I can heal from Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism. So, but I was on meds for 21 years. And really the culmination of how I healed from it now is about 3 years ago, I read a book by the medical medium, Anthony Williams. And he's very popular these days. He's really pretty incredible guy. He's not a doctor, but he definitely has something to say about what's going on with all these mystery illnesses, he calls them. It is all the autoimmune stuff. It's even cancer. It's even Alzheimer's, dementia. It's so he basically, in his book, was talking about how we come into the world a bit toxic with viruses and pathogens and bacterial stuff in our body, and because the umbilical cord has toxins in it, and the mother's milk has toxins, and then we're exposed to water so many toxins, and in the food we eat, and as time goes on, the antibiotics we take or the actual over-the-counter meds are toxic, or birth control pills. I mean, there's so much toxicity out there, and as the food supply has gotten not as healthy with pesticides, and our fish is mercury, and chicken has arsenic or brown rice. I mean, it's been a little, and all of our beauty supplies.
Yeah, are filled with toxins.
Yeah, I could go on forever with that. So if we're toxic already, and as life goes on, we just get more toxic. No one talks about how to lower the toxin loads in our body.
Not at all. Not right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I don't feel good. Let's go on a detox.
Yes, exactly.
Whether it be, a juice cleanse or maybe a water fast for days, but no one talks about consistently lowering these toxins. And if you've had any kind of mono, tonsillitis, strep, canker sores, shingles, chickenpox, all these kind of things, they're viruses. And when I had those growing up, they gave me antibiotics for them.
Yeah.
So
same here. I mean, it was, hey, take 14 days of antibiotics, you'll be good to go, and on your merry way.
And surprisingly, you were.
Yeah,
mostly,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It works.
It works, right. But, antibiotics don't kill off viruses. No. So he says the viruses sort of lay dormant in the organs or in the cells in the body. And they love other toxins. The organs are really, the liver is a big one. That's where a lot of toxins go, because the liver does try to process toxins and turn them into safe form so it can excrete them out of the body. So the liver does a lot of work for us in that regard. So the liver gets very toxic, and when we go through trauma in our life, whether it be divorce or death or having a baby can be traumatic, or just being in a car accident, or having a fight with your husband or your friend could be traumatic. So these viral things are raising their ugly head again. They're like, because there's so much of it in our system, and so they're coming back up, and between the emotional component of what we're going through with the trauma and the body being toxic, this is what he thinks is causing all these illnesses.
Interesting.
So he put me on an antiviral protocol for, I did it for a year. I still dabble in it because it made me feel so good, but it was a very simple and lowering my viral loads with some natural viral deloaders like a bioactive silver and cat's claw and L-lysine and all these kind of things that have been around forever. Yeah, it was a very simple protocol. He helped me detox my thyroid with a little bit of iodine and some like barley juice extract powder and spirulina, and just it was fascinating. He helped my adrenals with some licorice root extract, which also is phenomenal for like supporting your adrenals, which has been around forever as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So his supplements are very high quality. He really investigates things, and I did it for 3 months, and I went off my thyroid medication in 3 months. I slowly weaned off with my doctor, and I had never felt better in my life. This was like 2.5 years ago.
That's amazing.
So ever since then, my energy and mental stability and just everything about what I do just like skyrocketed. I never knew what thriving or feeling great felt like.
Wow.
I was always surviving. And I see that with clients. They're just surviving. They're okay with taking the pill and really not feeling great, mentally fogged, or not sleeping well, or still hair is a little thin, or just things are a little constipated. I'm not okay with any of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I always say we spend more time diagnosing our car. Think about all the diagnostics tests we put our cars through. And we don't do the same thing to ourselves, which is it's unbelievable. It's to me it's quite perplexing. Were you exploring holistic medicine? Were you nervous at first going off your thyroid medication for this regimen that this doctor had put together? Like, what were some of the fears that had come up inside of you making that decision to transition?
Yes, it's always a fearful thing. It's always a leap of faith. But I think that emotionally I had been working on myself so much about taking that leap of faith in life, period, overall, with everything that I'm doing, with the work, with, just my family life, my loved ones. It's like, I got to a place where I really realized that the world is a really big place, and that I was taken care of by the universe. Like that universe having my back.
Yeah,
is
Gabby
kind of-
Bernstein.
Gabby Bernstein, I
love her.
I do.
Love her.
So yes, it's that thing.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
I really started to believe the universe has my back. I have to take this leap of faith, because I'm never going to know the answer if I don't. And I think part of my personality, I'm an Aries. I don't know.
Me too.
You are.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
Yes.
I can't give up till I find the answer.
Exactly.
I drive everybody bonkers.
Yes,
It's crazy.
same here. The total Ram personality
Yes,
of how am I going to get there and do better and
a little bit of a bull in
Yeah.
sometimes.
So, Elissa, you had Hashimoto's, which is a type of autoimmune disease.
Right.
Talk to us about some of the other autoimmune diseases, especially as they're getting more and more prevalent out there.
Right. There are so many. There are rheumatoid arthritis, there's celiac, there's lupus, there's MS, there's fibromyalgia. Type 1 diabetes. So it's really crazy how much is happening in terms of the autoimmune umbrella. And as we know, for Hashimoto's is the fastest growing autoimmune disease today. And the doctors basically say that the body's attacking the thyroid for Hashimoto's. For celiac, it's attacking your gut. For rheumatoid arthritis, it's attacking your joints. So I feel that it's not really I don't like the fact that doctors say your body's attacking itself, because it makes you feel like, whoa, I'm not in control here, and my body's working against me. So I just think that the body is trying to lower the toxin loads in these organs or tissues or joints, or, we have these toxins get into certain areas of our body, and different for everybody, and they wreak havoc in all these different areas. So for me, Hashimoto's is a big one, because the thyroid takes a lot of impact in terms of, just emotions. And the gut does too. So celiac is also another very big one as well. But I feel like the body is trying to protect us. It's trying to lower, tell us, we've got to lower the toxin load in these organs and in these tissues and in these joints to get them to, function better.
Right. And what are some of the root causes that you think? We talked about it in some of your journey, but what do you think contributes to autoimmune diseases? And women too are disproportionately impacted by autoimmune diseases. Why is that?
We talked about earlier, stress is absolutely huge. I mean, we are way too stressed. Secondly, emotionally, we're not expressing ourselves the way we should. We're holding on to emotions and trauma and hurt and fear that, is absolutely eating us alive. So our subconscious is really, we operate 95% out of our subconscious, which is really crazy. 5% of us is conscious. That subconscious is having these messages replay daily in our head, and our cells listen to those messages
all day long. All day long.
So it's the fears and the, I'm not good enough, the low self-worth, the low self-esteem, all of that, the body's listening to it. It's sort of breaking it down. I think those are huge. I mean, and then it's the diet, the diet of eating inflammatory foods. So it's a lot of, the gluten, the dairy, the sugar, or just too much animal protein, or just, sugar is also a killer. And then it's not getting enough sleep and rest, and we're not sleeping well because we're up really late at night. We're up early. So all of those things are doing a number on us, and we're just, social media is also doing a number on us, because we are feeling even more so these days that we got to keep up because of what we see on social media. So that's not helping the autoimmune stuff at all. And we're not taking the time to just step back and really reset and be okay with just being who we are and slowing down and just regrouping. We never give ourselves enough time. So I think all of those things are really what are causing the autoimmune. And our immune system gets suppressed at the end of the day. So when the immune system is suppressed, that's when the body can't really fight off some of these things.
Infection.
Yeah.
Now, what were some of your earlier symptoms, and what should someone who, they're feeling like, hey, I'm not really feeling right, something is off. What are some symptoms that they should look for, and then how can they empower themselves to speak to the right people about those symptoms?
So some of the symptoms are, it's definitely a bit of, depression and anxiety.
Right.
It's, sleeplessness, restlessness. It's not a lot of energy. It's weight gain and even going on a diet, not being able to lose the weight. It's a little bit of hair loss. It's, just skin doesn't look great. It's not glowing. It's constipation. I mean, it's achy bones and joints and, all of that. It's not digesting your food. It's being bloated. And do you want me to go on?
Right. All these
I mean,
things.
they're endless.
There's so many
Yeah.
things. But we just shirk that. We say, oh, I'm just not feeling well.
Yes.
And then it's all in your head.
Yes.
I mean, how can
It's
someone
not in your
stand
head.
in their power and, say,
Yeah.
there is something wrong here? And, who maybe should be one of the first people that they go to? Should they look up for a holistic nutritionist or, functional medicine doctor? How do they empower themselves to own the fact that they intuitively know their body and something's not right?
Right. Such a good question. I mean, the first thing I would do is I would look up a functional MD.
Right.
Someone who can do the right test and actually can sit down with them and talk to them about the emotional stuff. I mean, therapists are great too, but I think in terms of really getting to the root of what's going on, functional MDs really know how to test. Naturopaths do too, but I, for some reason, veer more towards functional MDs. And then they ask all those questions. Are you happy? What's your emotional status like? Are you happy at home? Are you happy in your marriage and your job? They ask those questions that are so crucial to sort of get the bigger picture. What kind of illnesses did you have growing up? What was your life like? And all those things. And they can get a big picture of, wow, this is what is going on for you. I mean, they've been hearing these things for years now, and myself too. I've been hearing from clients for years about similar symptoms, similar things that have gone on in their past. And when they tell me these things, I'm like, wow, this is what, they haven't tested for this. We should talk about this. So you can kind of, once you've been through it, like myself, I kind of know what to look for. And functional doctors is the first way to go.
First step.
Because they do these nutrient deficiency tests that are amazing. They test all of your thyroid numbers and adrenals and cortisol and sugar and insulin and A1C and just everything. They just hormones, so they can get a really good picture of overall what's going on. So I absolutely love them, and it's a quicker way because a lot of people go from doctor to doctor. They go to an endocrinologist,
Exactly.
Yeah, they go to all these different doctors, and
they feel like they're not being heard. Exactly. So they don't know. Then they say, "Oh, I guess I'm fine," and go off. 5 years later, it becomes something worse. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So if someone is suffering from an autoimmune disease, or they just feel like something's not right, what are some of the foods that they should be eating?
Well, first of all, they need to take out the sugar and the dairy and the gluten. Those are killers. So they need to remove those from the diet, and they will start to feel better because those are really inflammatory. And then next, they need to eat lots of leafy greens, and that's why I'm a big juicer. Or, put them in a smoothie, or, eat vegetables and leafy greens at every meal. That's really important. We don't get enough of that. Cruciferous veggies are another really important one because they have very much detoxifying properties to them. So cooked cruciferous veggies are amazing. Then it's also fermented foods. I love, fermented foods, probiotic foods that help, with the beneficial bacteria in the gut. Then it's, things like wild salmon, which is full of omegas. Or maybe, if they are an animal protein eater, but repasteurized, organic, lean, chicken at times. But really pull back from the animal protein if you are an animal protein eater to once a day because it's hard to digest. I think it's whole fruits. Fruit is the fountain of youth. So not to overdo it, but fruit has a ton of antioxidants. Wild blueberries and strawberries and all the berries are absolutely phenomenal. So it's going back to eating real food. Just not pasteurized, not processed. Just going to the farmer's market and picking up real food.
Right. Where do you shop? Like what grocery stores? And you talk about salmon. A lot of salmon has mercury and all this other stuff in it. Where do you get high quality wild salmon. So we'd love to know your grocery stores and farmers markets of choice.
Right. I mean, the farmers markets are pretty great, a
Right.
lot of them, because I think that the local people that come in from, you know, where they come in from have high quality stuff.
Right.
I think I trust them. I mean, you can't trust everybody, but I do
Right.
trust them. I know that Whole Foods does sometimes have some really good wild salmon. I mean, you just have to, you know, have a relationship with some of these stores, or Erewhon has some good, you know, wild salmon. Or in terms of some of their organic meats, they have a very small section that is very high quality, and their eggs are, you know, just are basically from farms and really high quality. So I limit that. I mean, it's really hard to go out to eat and know, and also get these things and know that they are good. So that is an issue. But I always tell people that you have to, you know, in moderation. You're gonna get stuff. You're gonna get salmon with some mercury, or chicken with some arsenic. You just are gonna get those things. But more often, if you are doing the other stuff that we talked about, you'll be fine.
Right.
You know, because you can't avoid all of that.
And then how about supplementation? Do you take any supplements, or would you recommend supplements for people who are, you know, struggling with autoimmune diseases?
I do. It's a very tricky thing these days because the supplement market has gotten out of control.
It's like unbelievable. There's a
Yeah.
supplement for
everything.
and you don't know the quality
then
too. Exactly.
The quality has not been so great. I mean, they're coming in from all over the world.
Right.
And they're duplicating certain supplements that are really hot right now, or superfoods. So I'm a little wary. There are certain supplements that I love that are doctor approved. One of them is pure encapsulations that I use a lot of, and it's doctor approved. And actually, you can get it on Amazon. And then there's Thorne, Metagenics can be a great one. You know, there's like, if you can get, or Designs for Health. There are a handful of really high-end supplements that are out there, but I think the less is more. You know, I think that's when you go to the functional doctor and he tests your nutrient deficiencies, and you know what you need. But there are some things that I absolutely are kind of must-haves. Probiotic. Right now, there's a new probiotic on the market that is a human strain. It's called Feed 101, and it has a prebiotic probiotic, and I'm loving this probiotic.
Never heard. This is all
Yeah,
cool.
it's brand new
Okay.
in the last 2 months.
Check that out.
You can get that online. So super high quality. I love probiotics, and if you don't get the seed, I love Renew Life, and I do like 100 billion, 150 billion, because you don't really know how much is really getting absorbed.
Right.
And then vitamin D is usually crucial for autoimmune people. Their vitamin D is usually low. So that's something that most people take on a daily basis. Also, B12, a liquid B12 that I absolutely love. There's one by Global Healing because it has 2 forms of B12 that are very high quality. And one of the forms is in the mitochondria of the cells. So it's liquid, so it goes into the system really fast. B12 is one of those things that we are very deficient in. And magnesium. Magnesium, everyone should be taking magnesium. There are 300 different enzymatic processes in the body that magnesium is responsible for. Wow. So every night I have my clients take my magnesium glycinate or citrate. So those are some of the things that, and I do love like a really high quality multi for people, because I'm sure they're not getting everything they need. And Pure Encapsulations makes a great one. And also Innate Response is another great smaller company that makes a food-based supplement that's a multi that is fabulous. So it's also a tablet, so it's easy to dissolve.
Right. And what are some things that don't help? You know, like there's a lot of misconceptions, there's a lot of information out there, and I think some of it is counterproductive to healing. So walk us through some of the things that you have clients come to you, they say, someone told me this, and you know, it's not really the right advice.
Right. Well, what's happening these days is there are so many different diet modalities out there.
It's amazing. Like every time I turn my head, there's the new this or that, or you know, shred this. And, yeah, exactly.
Yes. The bulletproof diet.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, and now it's sort of intermittent fasting or water fasting. I mean, it's like really crazy what's happening. So that isn't good. Like jumping from thing to thing, or even like the Plant Paradox book, which some of the stuff I really believe in, Dr. Gundry, but it's like no legumes and beans and nothing with seeds in it. And I mean, that's so limiting.
So limiting. What
So,
do you?
yeah, if you're a
what do you
vegan,
eat? Yeah,
what the heck do you
exactly.
eat?
Right.
It's very animal protein based,
Right.
and but it is veggies and lean protein, which you can, do well on. But so I believe, the sugar, the dairy, the gluten, again, as I've mentioned probably a lot, is really just detrimental to a lot of people. And we do overdo it. We don't realize how much sugar is in things. And dairy is just really hard for us to break down. So, but these like restrictive diet programs, I don't love. I feel like if we can eat real food, and like I said earlier, eating a lot of leafy greens and cruciferous, a lot of veggies, whole fruits. I love juicing because you get a lot of those veggies in. And if you juice yourself, that's exceptional because you just can throw in cucumber, celery, parsley, lemon, ginger, and that's powerful.
Yeah.
And you can get so many vitamins, minerals into your body and into your bloodstream really fast, or just really healthy, greens powder into a smoothie.
Right.
So, but I think that, just eating the way that you feel is right for you is really important. And being a flexitarian, not having to be so restrictive. And if you are a vegan and you do eat legumes and beans, just watching how you feel after you've had them. That's a big thing. Being in tune with, I love soy, so I don't have it all the time, but tempeh and edamame I absolutely adore, and it's a great protein source. But we've been told no soy.
Yeah,
for the autoimmune, we've been told no soy.
Right.
So, and we've been also told for hypothyroidism, no cruciferous veggies.
Right.
Which is the healthiest, vegetable on the market. So, I just, I don't really listen to those things, and I just kind of listen to my body.
I love that.
And I tune in, and I'm like, ooh, did I feel good after eating that? And sometimes I eat tofu, and I don't feel good. But some of the other stuff, I feel fine.
Right.
So,
I feel like it's that gut check, like really, what am I putting in my body? How did I feel? We don't take the time to pause often after we eat something.
Right.
We're so focused on adhering to the diet and this perfectionism dieting, which I think is counterproductive oftentimes. So,
you just said the perfect word that we didn't discuss earlier.
Yes, exactly. Perfectionism. Let's talk about that,
because is a very big part of autoimmune. But it's the stress part.
Right. Because you talked about, growing up, type A family and all the things, excelling, being the high-powered advertising world.
Yeah.
We live in this, I want to be Instagram worthy all the time society, and that perfectionist mentality. Talk about that and how that contributes to autoimmune disease, and then how you can realign yourself to just be okay and being in your own skin.
Perfectionism is killer. I just did a post on this on my site because I
read it. It was awesome.
that as an Aries who's perfectionist, right? You can relate.
Totally can relate.
And a little bit of a control freak.
Yes.
And I started having some sleepless nights recently, and I realized that I am micromanaging, the family and the business and all of it, and it's starting to kill me. So it's really my head. I couldn't turn my head off. I was worrying so much. I'd wake up and couldn't go back to sleep, and it's that cortisol adrenaline rush that I'm so used to, and I'm used to the deadlines and getting things done so quickly and getting it done, perfectly.
Right.
And that is really that's all part of the stress component, and it's all part of, just driving your body into the ground.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely a killer for most of us women. And it doesn't just extend into, work. It extends in how we look, or, how we feel. Just everything, has to be perfect. And that is just a huge misconception. So that is something that we can never be perfect. We can never be enough that. So we have to figure out what is enough for us. And how to, and when we do figure that out, and we can slow down and give ourselves the room to breathe, it is all these beautiful things happen in your life. I have to say.
I agree.
Beautiful people come in, beautiful opportunities happen. I just, from experience, when I'm in that control perfectionism mode, that doesn't happen. But when I step out of it and just relax,
same here.
The goodies happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just regrounding yourself in that your enoughness. You're enough, and the universe has your back. So if you surrender a bit, everything will happen as it should, versus the control, which just puts you on this, rat race wheel, I feel, which is just super kind of productive.
Yeah.
So amazing. Yeah. So now, anything else that you want to share, or things that we haven't talked about? Or what?
God, we've talked about
so many things.
I would say that, my whole motto is don't ever give up. And if you don't feel well and you are, thinking that you could feel better, you could. You absolutely could. Take it from someone who, at my age, I didn't really feel great till 3 years ago. So it's been a lot of years. I'm 58. Wow. So at 55 years, I just felt okay. And
I can't believe you're 58, but
thank you.
Wow.
I sometimes feel 58, but I feel great. I feel like, I really can take on the world, and I want other women, even men, to feel that way. Right. Like to give themselves that permission. The permission. I think that's the critical word. Right. Yeah, to be great, to thrive, and to find a purpose and a passion in their life, whatever it might be. Exactly. It could be the simplest little things. But, and to have, just a love for themselves, to start loving themselves a little more, because that is huge. To open up your heart and really love who you are is the biggest thing you could do for your health and your mental well-being. Right, and we don't talk about that, the gift of self-love and, really taking the time to explore who you are and honoring that. I feel like that's so important, so amazing. Yeah. How can we stay connected with you online? Because you've got so many awesome things to share. You're always sharing these delicious recipes. You've got to check out her recipes. Thank you. How can we stay connected? So I have a website, elissagoodman.com, and I have, my reset cleanse on there. I have my soup cleanse on there, and I have a YouTube channel where I do interview some game changers in the wellness space on my Elissa Goodman YouTube show. And because like you're saying, the wellness space is just exploding. Right. And I'm on social media, of course. Of course. Much to my demise. On the channels, Yeah, exactly. So, I'm on social media and just, and I do love just sharing. And every week, if you sign up for a newsletter, my newsletter, I do a health tip and a new recipe every week. And I love food. I absolutely, food has to taste good, not just be healthy. Yeah, your stuff is so delicious. We'll share and link up to everything, all of your social media, and then you've got to subscribe and try her recipes. They're delicious, but then also easy to make, which is, that's amazing important for a non-chef like me. They have to be easy. Yeah, they're super easy. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Elissa. We're about to go into the kitchen with Elissa. She's going to teach us how to make some amazing, amazing recipes and teach us a little bit about how to eat healthy, especially if you have an autoimmune disease. So super excited about that. Thank you again for all the wisdom and information. Just so grateful to have you. I loved being with you. Thank you. We're in the kitchen with Elissa. She's going to show us 2 amazing recipes if you're suffering from an autoimmune disease. These are 2 superfood-powered recipes that you should absolutely know about and use. Easy to make, simple ingredients. I'm going to let Elissa dive in and show us these tasty treats that she's got. So I absolutely love soup. I think soup is a fantastic way to get nutrients into the cells. So I'm going to make a creamy curry cauliflower soup. That is one of the soups on my soup cleanse. So I'm going to start with some olive oil and garlic and onions and turmeric. So I'm going to take these over and saute them. So I'm going to pour the olive oil. Elissa, what kind of olive oil is that you're putting in the pot? It's like organic. Organic, okay, great. So good. Organic olive oil, and it's extra virgin. Oh yeah, let me see if I can. Turmeric, which is freshly grated turmeric. Ooh. So we're going to take these all over. All right. And dump these in. I know. Onions. Should I dump that in there? Dump the onions in there. And we will just, saute this with a little bit of a curry powder. Guys, this smells so good. That has a lot of fantastic herbs in it. Even holy basil, which is an adaptogen herb, I absolutely love. So we're going to put a tablespoon of this as well in with the onions, garlic, and turmeric. I'm going to be the stirrer. That'll be my job in this process. Smells amazing. Smell good. Yeah, look at these ingredients. Who doesn't
Oh
love
my
onions
goodness.
cooking?
And I can
Yeah.
just smell the turmeric and the
Turmeric,
curry.
I
Just,
know.
oh my goodness.
Turmeric is so good
So
for
amazing.
everything. It's so anti-inflammatory. It's great for
Right.
the immune system. It's just great for joint pain. It's
Right.
really an amazing, and I try to use it almost every day.
Now, where can you find this amazing curry?
You can go on their site and find it, and we'll give the details. You know,
We'll link up to
yes,
this in the
we'll
show
link up to the
notes.
details, but it is pretty amazing.
Amazing
so it's worth
stuff.
buying. So now we're gonna do some more. We're gonna actually do the cauliflower, and another thing, or we're actually gonna do the vegetable broth, organic vegetable broth, which we'll put in, and you can grab that.
Grab that one.
And then we're gonna put in some herbamar, some more seasoning. It's a sea salt with dried herbs, which I use on everything, and the cauliflower.
Ooh,
So
yum.
that's the next thing. So why don't you go ahead and, do you want to pour that in?
Yeah, how much of this should I
So
pour
the
in?
whole
The whole
box.
thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's like
cool.
4 cups.
All right.
And I will do,
Dun, dun,
I'll sprinkle in the herbamar. So it's very tasty, like very seasoned.
Oh,
So,
this is smelling amazing. So good.
yeah.
It's so easy too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can just kind of put everything in the pot and
Exactly.
let it go,
Only
which is
like
great.
a few ingredients.
Yeah, exactly,
Really, very
exactly.
simple. So I'm going to add in the cauliflower as well. Okay. And then we're just going to let that cook. Right?
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
So when it's all sauteed and soft and cooked down, then we put it in the blender and blend it. And to make it creamy, we have some cashews. That's a great way to add creaminess to a soup. Another great way to add creaminess to a soup is with coconut milk.
Okay,
So
great.
those are, if you don't want cashews,
Right.
you can, but it also is great because it adds protein. That's what I love about the cashews.
Right.
Because I always love to have some protein.
A little bit of protein.
Yeah, a little
for
protein in
sure.
every meal.
Yeah, awesome. So we're gonna let that cook over there.
Yeah.
So guys, super easy. The last steps would just be to blend everything together. As Elissa mentioned, you
Yeah.
could add the, you know, cashews if you'd like that bit of creaminess, that protein and nuttiness.
Yes.
But because we have another amazing recipe
Yeah.
that we're gonna jump into, why don't you walk me
Go
through
ahead to
this
the next one?
delicious
Okay.
smoothie?
Yes.
So now we're making a power pack smoothie recipe with incredible ingredients. If you're dealing with an autoimmune disease, all these ingredients are going to help you in a certain way. Alyssa's going to talk about each of them and make us a delicious smoothie, which I'm so excited about.
I know. Who doesn't love smoothies these
I mean,
days?
they're amazing. Like, I'm a
I know.
smoothie in the
They're
morning
easy.
person.
They're easy.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're easy to pack in all the goodness, good stuff. But it's a matcha smoothie, and matcha is so powerful in regards to anti-cancer, autoimmune, like anti-inflammatory. It is fabulous, and also it has an amino acid in it called L-theanine, which also helps with anxiety. So it has a little bit of that caffeine, but it doesn't give you too much of a caffeine rush like coffee does.
Right.
Because coffee does drain your adrenals. So this is something that doesn't drain your adrenals that much. That's what's
interesting.
beautiful about it. Because autoimmune is all about, we were talking, just the adrenals being overtaxed. So this is almond milk.
Yay.
You're going to be in charge.
I'm going to do
So
it.
it's 2 cups of almond milk,
Woohoo.
unsweetened almond milk. There's so many great nut milks on the market. Just make sure there's no carrageenan, which is an emulsifier in the nut milk. In the milk on the side of the package, you'll see, because that is not good for
so we
anybody
don't want
with
any of
any
that.
kind of health issues.
Right.
Right. So there's also a ripple milk, which is a pea protein milk. So
Oh, interesting.
1 cup has 8 grams of protein, which is also amazing to use.
Yeah.
So that's great. Then we had 2 teaspoons of matcha,
Right.
and I usually do organic ceremonial matcha. There's many great matchas on the market, but just make sure they're organic. And sometimes they say certified organic, which
Right.
is also a step above, which is fantastic.
And you use
So-
the ceremonial grade instead of, because I know there's like a ton of different grades, but
Right.
ceremonial is a little bit smoother,
Yes,
right?
smoother. Absolutely.
Okay.
You know your
Yes,
matcha.
I know my matcha.
And then this is something that I have done for maybe 2 or 3 years now. MCT oil is phenomenal because it's a medium chain triglyceride. It's extracted from a coconut, and it does not have to be processed by the liver. The liver processes all of your fats, and it gets very loaded down. So this goes right through the liver and straight to the brain for energy. So sometimes I just do a tablespoon of this before I do my matcha in the morning, or sometimes I do have coffee. So we're going to do a tablespoon of this.
Okay,
and
awesome.
it also revs up your metabolism like crazy. So it gives you energy, revs up the metabolism, and it's really great on the liver. So one
This stuff
tablespoon
is
of that
amazing.
is fantastic.
I put this stuff in my smoothies too. It's just
You
like,
do.
it's so power packed that,
Yeah.
you know, it is amazing. All right, see guys, so easy. You just dump everything
Yep.
into the blender and
You
you're
got
getting
it.
all the incredible nutrients through, you know, really whole, fresh ingredients.
Right. And then it's a scoop of this plant-based protein, and it's basically Plant Fusion is a really high-quality protein powder. They test all of their protein, all of the ingredients that go in for any kind of chemicals. So it's really fabulous in terms of what they do. They've been in business for many, many years. So we're going to use their protein powder, and that's about 20 grams of protein.
Oh, wow.
So protein is really important ongoing throughout the day for people to balance their blood sugar and to keep them satiated. So
It's already smelling amazing. I'm already getting excited. My mouth is watering for this smoothie.
And banana. Sometimes I use banana and sometimes not. So it just depends. Sometimes people don't do well with a banana in their smoothie. They don't feel very good. Their stomach doesn't feel great. It might be that they don't process the sugar as well.
Right,
But the banana does make it creamy, so that's what's beautiful about it. But if you actually don't do well with banana, I am a lover of stevia. 100% organic stevia.
Right.
That's another thing for any autoimmune people, is to get off the sugar, to go to natural sweeteners. But Omica, you can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
It makes a 100% pure stevia. It doesn't have an aftertaste. So I would put like a few drops of that, like 5 drops, or you could do it to your taste level instead of the banana.
Instead of the banana,
That's
okay.
a great switch for people who don't want to do any sugar.
Right.
So we're ready to blend.
Awesome. And I think what's so cool, what you said, and you know, the banana versus the stevia, it comes down to trusting your body.
Yes.
And checking in with yourself after you've had something. Say, hey, how do I feel?
Right.
You know,
right.
So.
Absolutely, Ms.
All right.
So just push the blend.
All
and
right, guys, here's the magic moment. Oh,
No
can
magic
I not?
moment.
Oh, there it goes. We're ready to test this delicious
Yes.
smoothie. I'm so
Let me take a bit
excited.
off.
Guys, look at how easy that
Yeah.
was. I mean, it took
Yeah.
less than 5 minutes just to
Exactly.
put all the ingredients together, and you've got everything you need right in this delicious
So
smoothie.
short, I know.
So.
And so good. And something to really sustain you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
the protein.
So, and give you energy, and the MCT oil,
Yes.
and yeah.
Awesome.
So we're
Let's
gonna
try some.
Yes.
Thank you.
gonna pour some in for you.
Look at that beautiful color, like
Wow.
ready to go.
I know. Anything green. I
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Green for good luck. Mmm. It's so
Yum.
creamy.
Yeah, it's really creamy.
Ooh, yum.
Really good.
And you know what? I have to say, sometimes I'll drink straight matcha tea, and
Right.
can be a little bit intense.
Yeah.
Blended in this smoothie.
It's not intense, is it at all?
You almost,
Yeah.
it's so subtle, so good.
Right,
Yum.
Lots
Action-packed
of
power
energy
drink.
here.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Thank you.
so much, Elissa. Guys, we'll be linking to all of the different recipes in the show notes, so take a look at those. Thank you, Elissa, for just being so generous with your time and teaching us
Anytime.
so much. I mean, my brain is exploding with all that we've learned. So stay tuned, guys. Check out all of her stuff. Check out her website, elissagoodman.com. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.